So, welcome to episode 2063. No, 168.
Okay.
I never know which one it is, so that's why I said
know.
that. Because you looked at me, you were like,
no,
did you do that many podcasts yet?
No, I was just
like,
looking at you interested, and I listen to it every week.
That would mean I have more podcasts than Joe Rogan.
I listen to your podcast every week.
Yes, she does.
And I know how many you have. So
there you go. So episode 168 or 9. One of the two anyway. And it's going to be about the silence of cue training.
Yeah.
Can we give a background to this to explain to people where we come from? I guess people can tell that since you live in Rio, most likely we're together. There's a good chance. I think they caught on that one.
I think everyone knows by now.
I'm pretty sure they know by now. What they might not necessarily know is that we have a spectrum family.
Yeah.
We are, exactly. We are on certain side of what is called the spectrum, and so we've lived a life that was very loud, let's put it this way, where I don't know that emotions are out of control. It's not a good way to explain it, but I don't think there is a good way to explain it. I did a podcast on autism, and I was trying...
I know, I listened to it.
Good job. Finally, someone. So you do listen. Oh, there you go. I was trying to explain how loud it is to be on the spectrum. That's really, it allows you to hear better, to see patterns better, to do a lot of things better, but it is loud.
Well, and you say like it allows you to hear better, but I do feel like when everything is so loud, I think now it's more silent, it's easier to listen and to hear. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. But what I mean by that is it's so loud because you have a greater sensitivity to things, a greater depth. I think that's what really that autism is vastly misunderstood. It's a matter of depth, of feelings, depth of things. But there is a non-understanding of the emotions that come with it. Like we see that in ASD a lot. I think a lot of it comes out of not understanding the time frame. Like we have emotions that hit so hard for so long, and they become so loud that they do not let you operate in the world anymore. And it makes you shut down, and at some point everything is so loud you can't hear anything anymore. You can't do anything about it. You just want to go into a wall of silence and freeze. And that's something we both experience.
Yeah, that's for sure.
A lot. And so I want to explain, I think it was necessary to explain that because of the importance then of the cue training and the silence that it provided. I think that to me that's been the biggest, like obviously I'm training again, you can tell I'm getting jacked.
We need to get you new shirts.
I know, it's starting to get tight in the right places again. Thank you. So I can train at a level I could not train before because before, like for example, I would do bodybuilding, and within 3 weeks I would crash. I would just get like super amped about it, and then there would be a moment of disappointment for whatever reason, and then I would crash from that and I had to stop bodybuilding. So I did a lot of powerlifting, strongman, but was doing my assistance work through like the strongman stuff because I just could not do bodybuilding type. And now with the cue training, I'm able to do an insane amount of volume where I do 4 or 5 compound movements for 4 sets of actual work. Like it's an insane amount, and it's not loud. There is a complete silence. I'm getting beat to shit physically. By the way, we can say it. The cue training does not take you away from soreness.
That's for sure. Like I'm happy we're sitting sore. Because if you see me walk, I'm like,
I'm so sore.
But
there is no loudness associated with it.
So but right before we moved to Rio, I did sprint, like competition and everything, and everything was very, very loud. So now I'm going into lifting, but this is my first time lifting like so many times a week and doing all this stuff. So for me, I almost link the lifting to the silence, but it's because of the cue training and also the cardio in the morning and everything.
So let's give a background. So when you said you lifted before, because you did get to 80 kilo power clean.
Yeah, that's true.
And then 130 kilo squat and deadlift and everything. But let's give a background to that. The 130 kilo squat was short.
Yeah, it was short.
You were loading your lower back like crazy. It was all erectors.
No depth.
The depth wasn't there, but she did power clean 80 kilos. I've seen it. But you did that with basically no training.
Yeah, I did like a strength program twice a week and running 3 times a week until I was 18, and then 2.5 years I did nothing outside of assistant work.
Right. So when you get to the 80 kilo power clean, you did 6 months of twice a week lifting 5-3-1.
Yeah.
That's usually. It. 8 weeks.
Yeah. Then I did 1 week 8 reps, 5 reps, 3 reps, or 5-3-1.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
Certain
for
things.
2 months.
Yeah, like stuff like that.
So after 2 months of 5-3-1, you get 80 kilo power clean.
Yeah, and I actually got in a fight with the gym because I dropped the weight, but it was no good floor because it was just super basic gym. But so I never really experienced the loudness of the lifting either, but I did experience it in sprint.
So any of the coach out there that heard that you got an 80 kilo power clean at 18, weighing 60 kilos in 8 weeks of training with 2 cycles of 5-3-1 are going, what? Anyway, you have no clue, my dear. Anyway, the unfairness of genetics is all I'm going to say. And it was something with your squat, right? It was not to depth, but you ended up squatting 130 kilos.
Yeah, I remember the first time I squatted was 14 and I squatted 80 kilos.
You squatted 80 kilos at 14?
Yeah, 15.
This first time touching the weight.
Yeah, it was cool, but I never experienced the loudness that you had in bodybuilding lifting. Right. But I did experience the loudness in sprint, and I like a lot of loudness from that. So for me, it's just applying the lifting and the Q training at once is a relief. Like it's like I can breathe. There's silence, I can think. I'm not as...
Right, so I want to explain the background again, and then we're going to get to the Q training and the silence of it. Jania decided to try powerlifting because, so I explained, like, you were doing sprints, but what you like is to win.
Yeah, and everyone who plays a game with me ever will understand, because I love
She plays to kill. She doesn't play to win. She plays to kill. Like, there's that one Dutch game with Carl that we play, and I was like, all right then. And so, but in a way, like, you like running, but it didn't matter that much.
No, like for me, I got into running by accident, and then I started competing, and I just started winning stuff, and that's what I like. And it sounds very narcissistic, but I just really like the whole. Yeah, I like winning. I like just being good at stuff, and I like to learn and then get really good at it. That's what I truly like.
It's not to generalize, but the spectrum for men and women is so different in how it presents itself. Is you see a lot of women on the spectrum that are extremely driven.
Yeah, and I get obsessive over things.
She gets very obsessive.
So it's more like, that than anything.
Obsessive, compulsive, and so you did that with track.
Yeah, with track and more about. It was also the feeling that winning gave me with what, like it, especially at that age, creates a certain identity, and you roll with that. And I think that is what got me so obsessive about track. But it was not actually track because it's a training. And that's also what you addressed with the identity linked to where you train or how you train or what type of training you do. I think it doesn't fully fit my identity or doesn't fully fit my identity yet. The way of training, the way of coaching in track. You don't like
the track world, not that much.
No, it's more that, the type of training, the type of
But you like the winning a lot.
But
and
I
you
like
were good.
Winning.
So, And so, but the problem that we saw, again, is every competition was nerve-wracking for you.
Yeah.
Like going up to it, like there was some deep identity issue linked to that, where every time you would go up, then crash for 3 days, then go back up and everything, and trying to mellow through it with a lot of that. So we, at some point, we're like, okay, so we're in Rio, we're gonna chill, and seeing how strong she is, I was like, why don't we try a 6 months block, where she's still gonna run anyway, but where we do powerlifting just to see where we could get you number-wise in 6 months, could be kind of fun. And when I told her she could go to at least junior world real fast, she was like, well, that's interesting. I was saying world championship. I was like, I'm in, I want to be a powerlifter. I was like, oh, there you go. So. Yeah,
and I was also figured that if I really want to be successful in track or get like to certain times in track, I need to be able to not make it my identity for me to be successful. I think that's for me is the only way to move forward is to not have it be my identity. So that was also a big motivation for me in powerlifting. And then I was like, well, if I can be good,
might as well do this.
Might as well do this. And I truly really like the training. It's so much fun.
Right. And so we went into a cycle. Like we like, oh, let's try a cycle of powerlifting. And mesocycle. And I was like, well, shit, if you're gonna do it, I might as well go into it. Yeah. So I did so. Therefore, we trained together, as you've seen on the video. And it
training partners now.
Exactly, on top of it. Yeah, like every time, all day together. And so, but the key was to adapt. With me, I was interested in going back to powerlifting, and I don't have my strongman equipment, but powerlifting with the gym work for now. In a way, it was last time I did not approach it correctly. Like I told that on the podcast, but like when it came to becoming like really good, like going to the World Championship of Jiu-Jitsu, I quit. When it came to turning pro in strongman, I quit. I did that for MMA. It's because eventually everything gets so loud, like that competitive things. It's either I don't have it or more likely I didn't do it right, for the right reason. It got so loud that I know it made me stop. And I was like, well, let's see if I can do the powerlifting again, but this time doing it correctly. Is there a way to do it? And that's at the moment where the Q training was really taking shape. And so I was like, all right, so I know what the Q-1 is giving me from that cardio in the morning, so let's adapt it to lifting. And so first of all, what is the Q-1? I know I talked about it, but I think it's good to explain it again. So for us, it's the airdyne for 10 minutes every morning when we go to the gym. The airdyne has to be at a certain number so that it's not too slow that you're cruising.
Yeah.
So it has to be fast enough that you have to be present and go hard, but not too slow, right? So it takes a few minutes to get to that number every morning, so I have to remind her. So she's putting her fingers on the handle and she's pressing like this. And I'm like, what are you doing? Proprio grip, use your triceps. Emotional mapping, she does not want to connect to the triceps. But the idea of the Q-1, like that cardio in the morning we do, is the same. Is you're gonna go fast enough that things start to get loud, that the voice starts to talk to you about, hey, what are we doing here? And you're gonna stay there. You're not gonna go past the point of the fail when you're like, okay, I can't maintain this. This is too much first thing in the morning. This is a stress I do not want. We stay right below that, consistent for 10 minutes, and it sets the day. It's not a training session. We're just setting how we want to feel for the day, which is productive, and being able to take stress.
Yeah.
Like, which me, if I look, it's always been my major weakness, is that I procrastinate or I quit because at some point I can't take the loudness. Yeah. It's always been that, I think, which is what happened to you with sprint. And so the Q-1 was
things
that.
In general, though.
We
directed it to sports, but it's just with things in general.
I procrastinate on stuff I don't want to do a lot. And so that the Q training has helped so much with this. The little stuff, like taking the trash now and not 2 hours later. Or like I go up and I have to grab something and I won't do it. Before, I would not do it. I would just come back down to grab it because at that moment, I guess maybe it wasn't planned or whatever, but I could not grab the stuff with me. I don't know. But now I'm like, I'll just grab the stuff because that's what that training in the morning gives me. Gives me that. Which I found very interesting. Like I've heard other people say that.
Yeah, it allows you to. Well, I think for me it's adjusting, like mentally adjusting. For me, it's that stresses me out a lot. Is when I think something's gonna happen and it's go differently, and then I'm like, go like this, and now I'm like,
I've seen it.
I because I give that one thing that I'm gonna do. Not a 8 or 9, I give it a 6. So when it goes the other way, I give that reaction to it also a 6. Or I can go and I can even see myself go up and then decide to not do it. And not because I am good, it's just because of Q training. Like it's just a skill that I think...
That you gain.
Yeah, everyone should gain, and I think especially people like us should gain. And it feels to me like I finally have power over my emotions, which... to me, I did not have before. So then I had a reaction to stress, which makes me go up. And then, oh my God, I don't even have control over myself. How can I even control the world if I can't have control over myself? And you push faster and faster and faster and faster. And then you crash.
And then you crash, But
it's that. It's allowing yourself to have the control over your own emotion, over your own reaction to stress.
Is to give it 6.
Yeah.
That is the number one skill that everyone needs to get is a 6. You can't...
Yeah, but I mean, like that's what we mean when we mean a 6. Like you have control over how you respond. Because if you say everyone should be able to have a 6, people go like, "What do you mean?" But it's 6 is like deciding to give something.
This is not the stupid podcast.
Deciding to give a certain amount of stress to something.
But it's and it's what killed me was like not being able to grab something and go up with it. But the stress of that will linger for 45 minutes. And you go, why?
Yeah.
Why? Then grab it, but I can't. And then it's fucked up for 45 minutes and you go, that's being on the spectrum, basically. And sometimes just things swing widely.
Yeah, but
you have no control. You feel, which is not true, but you feel you have no control over it.
Yeah, that's what I think I struggled with the most in general, is feeling so powerless over yourself. And then for me, it would just end up in thinking, like, if I can't have power over myself, how can I control my life, or how can I control
anything,
the world? Yeah. And then it makes you feel so powerless.
You can't control the world, my dear. But
but I mean, like, for example, renting a house or getting a car. That's what I mean with
everything
controlling
becomes
the world.
a monster enterprise.
Yeah.
Every little thing becomes...
And I think it's because you constantly feel like you can't control your emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, yourself, your state.
I mean, controlling things in the world. Let me say it like that.
Sure. I can see right through you, honey. And so that's the background of the Q training. That's what that session in the morning gave us. So it's not a cardio session. The point is not to get to 65 on the other, and there is no objective to this. The only reason we do that Q-1, it is not a training session. It is to get to work on that skill of, this is the state I'm in. So you need to go fast enough, obviously. Just push with the stuff like that, in order to create the stress necessary for you to have something to fight against. Yeah. And to tell the voice that is so loud to shut up. Yeah. That's the key, just shut up. Yeah. That's past minute 4 for me every morning. Yeah. Like, by the way, 2 months, I still don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I still don't like it.
Yeah.
I still don't want to do it. I'm on it by minute 6 going, why am I doing this? And then I remember, why? Because I decide. Yeah. I have control over over my state. Yeah. And that's really what this is for 10 minutes every morning. It sets the day. I cannot explain. Maybe we feel it more deeply because that's really the main issue for us. But this has been the most incredible thing ever. Like, for autism, this shit will change the game. Like, it's crazy.
I just think people in general, I think everyone can benefit tremendous from this.
From this. So anyway, we went from there. I decided to apply it to lifting, to powerlifting, going like, all right, let's go at powerlifting. So I'll take you guys through. So obviously, first, it was a lot of skill work for you to be able to understand the squat, but with always the same idea of Q-1. So Q-1 means what? Means the fail, right? That's what the Q is, this quit. The fail for Janina is, for example, on the squat, when that knee starts to move a little bit.
I don't like when that knee moves.
She doesn't like it.
I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like
so
it.
the knee cannot move, so that means control of the weight. That means teaching her to rock the hips correctly, to engage the glutes, the hammies, to stabilize, which she should be doing anyway. But also, like, we're not gonna go to that rep when the knee goes like this, because then the session is done. It's 2 hours to recover from there. She goes like this, her eyes go open, and I'm like, all right, it's okay. And then we can go back to the Q-1 we do in the morning, going, see that feeling? That's what I need. We did that a lot the first 4 weeks, which was, it doesn't matter that much. Just relax, calm down, go back. Q-1, remember, it's not Q+1. You don't have to jump up mentally. Just the rep didn't go that way. Let's do another set, and let's not do 3 reps, because the third was a hard one. Let's do 2 reps. But let's do more sets of 2 reps, so then the volume increases.
Yeah. And it's also, in a way, for me at least, is we go back to the weight which represents that fear or that overwhelming feeling, and going like, no, you can't control it. We're just going to approach it the right way. We're going to do it the right way. And that is what it means to me too. Like, that you can go back to it and you can do it a different way and feel different about it. It's not necessarily the weight, it's the way you approach it, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think the key to that is volume versus reps. Yeah. Where instead of doing that extra rep that's going to mess you up mentally and make you lose your confidence and all that stuff, we don't do the rep, we do an extra set. Yeah. An extra set is, I'm just checking the sound. Yeah, we're good. Why the extra set? Why is it so important? Like, any exercise can be divided in skill, neural output, and muscle capacity. Yeah. So the skill requires volume. Muscle capacity requires volume. There's just no way around it. Neural output doesn't, but the other two do. So what we do is, neural output is going to be worked in because it's heavy, and when you get to the 4th set, you're going to have to punch that neural output anyway. But instead of having or focus on your output. We have the focus on the skill and muscle capacity, especially early in the cycle, right?
Yeah.
So the key is we never let the athletes, or in that case us, go to fail. We just add sets. So we do 4 main sets of Q-1 for the squat. So the form has to be there, the control has to be there, and again, maybe she could do 5 reps with it, but if I feel like the 3rd rep is the one where her mind is clear, then we do 3 reps. If the 4th makes the knee move, then we don't do the 4th. Could she muscle it? Yes, she could. She could probably do 5 reps. If I push her, I can bet you she can do 4 reps on the 100 kilo squat right now. And we're not going to do it. We're going to do 2 reps because those are 2 good reps. And mentally, you're like, I handle the weight correctly.
Yeah.
There's a win. You own the weight.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
and
it.
Then,
own the weight.
Yeah, and I leave with a good feeling about that 100 kilos. So I know if I go back to it next week, I know how to mentally approach it. I know how it was supposed to feel, and I can go back to that feeling. And I think a lot of athletes will relate to that. Is that if you get the feeling of the exercise, if you start to feel the exercise, then you start how to, like how you should feel it in your legs, how you should feel, where you should feel the tension, then it's easier to memorize and do it again.
To learn it,
yeah.
Can you take the hair out of your microphone, please? Thank you. To memorize, but also to come back excited. No moment. I can't do it, but the spirit is there.
Oh, it's really loose now. Okay, wait. Okay. I'm new to this whole podcast thing.
There you go. It's also easier to come back, and your hair is touching it. Okay. We're gonna get there. There you go. No worry. It's also easier to come back the next week excited about squatting.
Yeah, because that's it too. Like now I'm gonna be
There's
like,
no fear.
I'm thinking already like 100 kilos.
Yeah. It might not go well, but at least you go to the gym with that feeling of like, all right.
Yeah.
And for me, it was the same thing. I have a problem with the left external torque, hip and shoulder, and I'm decomposing my squat actually and putting a video on the Q training group. And I have a video where I'm trying to crank the left external torque like crazy on the squat on the way up. And you can still see me go way too much on the right and shift to the right. So I was like, oh my God, is it that bad? Yeah, it is. And so I'm rebuilding all this. I didn't squat heavy correctly for years, so I'm paying the price now. But can I go heavier? Can I do more reps? For sure. Correctly? Not right now. And so I'm putting a heavier weight on my hips. On my back, it feels light. But at the bottom of my hips, for my hips to engage properly, it's challenging mentally. So I know that if I do an extra reps, can I muscle it? Yeah. 3 weeks from now, I won't want to squat. I will go to the gym forced.
Yeah.
And so that's what we're trying to avoid the most is going. If you're going to be that sore and that beat up, you cannot feel forced. There's no way this works.
No, and now it's also more like, yeah, I'm beat up, but I am already excited to go deadlift tomorrow, even though I'm super sore now.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun.
Yeah. But it's mentally, I don't feel stressed at all by training, and I never had that really before.
And from a performance perspective, people need to understand a lot of energy can be spent on that fail. I think that's what people don't see. So for example, what do I mean by that?
Yeah.
Janina's conditioning, if anything, is up.
That's true, because like I still run. I usually go for cardio in the afternoon, or this morning I went for cardio on our rest day. And because I can almost do the silent on command, not on command, but you can go to that place. I can just go and I'm running and I'm not really thinking about anything and I'm just doing my thing, and I end up running 20-25 minutes this morning on pretty good speed, and that was super easy. And even if I do shorter, faster, I have no issue breathing, just because I don't go here and up and think about what I'm supposed to do and how fast I'm supposed to be. And it's
panic mode is costly. I bet you could do more volume of sprinting right now than you used to. You pay the price for it, you'd be sore, but you could do a higher volume than before. Yeah,
and it doesn't feel like a punishment in the sense of that I'm supposed to do this. It just and it's also, I think, the not necessarily counting the reps in the sense of that you have to do 5, so you have to keep to the 5. It's that non-forced feeling which makes you be able to.
Volume and silence are linked. If you want to have a high volume of training, which for skill would be better, then you need the silence. Yeah. Like there's no question. Like that voice that talks to you, that diva brain, is very costly. We see that on the lactate levels. It is very, very costly energy-wise. The louder that voice is, the more it's taking energy away from your body to train. We're not talking just within the session, we're talking overall as well. Yeah. If you want to train with the volume that we train at, which is insane, honestly, like you're gonna have to have that silence. There is no way you can recover from those sessions feeling forced with the voice being loud.
And,
There's no way.
The weights are gonna come to you real fast.
Yeah.
It will be the same with the times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it takes a bit, but like that squat, as bad as it was on Monday, was the best the squat has felt since I started again. Yeah. I was like, I can move weight fast again.
Yeah, and I also noticed when we usually do the Q training, go have breakfast, train again, and then usually you go right into a call, or you have even 2 or 3 calls. Yeah. And for you, it's not that taxing at all, because you're not drained by the morning at all. You're tired, then you take a nap after your calls, but after that, you're back at it. And I haven't seen you being that active, like mentally okay.
Yeah. Not for such a long time.
For such a long time. It's
been 8 weeks, which is a very long time for me. It's just, but then we applied it also to assistance work, which I thought was interesting. So, for example, on the assistance work on the template, you can tell we don't even do isolation work anymore, because it felt like wasted energy. Like we were putting so much into it for, like, leg extension or stuff, which was cool at first just to engage the muscle, but I don't even think is necessary. Instead, we took the energy and put it to our compound movement. So, for example, our squat session was squat, power squat, sumo, leg press, hack squat.
Yeah.
Oh, that was murder. That was four main sets of each.
Yesterday was also murder.
Oh yeah, the bench press. Yeah, bench press was good too yesterday.
And I also noticed that, talking about the benches, that I really hate upper body training, and now
triceps.
And triceps. But now I'm actually really enjoying doing it. It's because of that non-forced feeling into it.
But if you look on the reels, I'm keeping her at 45 kilos on the bench, which she handles very well. But she still cannot pause, find tension, and press. It's just never the same reps. It's all over the place. So until she does, we're staying there. But now there's an ease that comes with the weight, where you're like, all right, you can use 40 kilos on the decline, on the incline, on anything you need now, which is. That gives a freedom to our training that I think also is very important. Yeah. But like for me, what was interesting is I'm doing also a video on the sumo, breaking it down. I like the sumo, I'm just weak at it, always. And but what was very interesting is, so sumo is an external torque, Sumo is an external torque, and so I'm working on it as an assistance work. And even at light weight at 315, there's a deep fear, especially on that first rep, into cranking it in external torque. So the sumo, like there's a deep fear onto cranking into external torque on the left, on the sumo off the floor. I realize now where I was doing it wrong and how much I was shifting to the right, which was always murdering my right hammy, is because of that. Like if it's heavy off the left, I just don't want to go there. Like there's a deep, like the fail of Janina's knee, I have it on the hip on the left in external torque. So on the sumo, it's murder mentally. And I'm able to go into it and go, no, stay with it. Stay with external torque, lift, so not too heavy, but keep the pressure on the left. There's a control that I have over this now that I never had before. So I understand exactly where I fucked up the sumo in the past. So now I can actually build a sumo. So I was able to stay more upright. But you see on the video where I start leaning forward, and as I get the confidence to crank, I'm trying to go more upright, more upright, more upright. But I realized that I could not be upright on the sumo before because of fear, nothing else. It has nothing to do with mobility, it has to do, but in a nervous system sense. There was a deep-rooted fear into cranking the left hip, where now I can open it mentally. There's a control there.
I think that's also because of the silence. You can hear that sign better and go like, oh, that is what I don't like, and that's what I'm afraid of.
And before, that fear would come up and it would make me angry, and I'm like, fuck it, I'll just put more weight and see I can deadlift it. And so I would not listen.
Yeah, you would not realize that actually what is freaking you out is that...
I could not listen.
Yeah.
To myself. I was incapable of listening. I just so see it now. And so that's why when I lift now, I'm like, oh, okay, so this has taken the ego out of it.
Yeah, I think it's a really good thing.
So like, it's like, oh, this feels good, and I'm cranking. I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I'm cool. And so leg press, same thing. I'm playing on to lowering with the right foot because that was the problem, cranking and external torque. And so I've done all my sessions are an external torque, which makes you very sore. I need to get back to that. I had a trick. You finish the workouts in internal torque a specific way, and it takes away the soreness.
Really?
So we have to test that again. Yeah.
It would have been nice if you would have done that Monday.
Anyway,
Monday.
Yes. We're going to start playing with that one again because it might be necessary. Let's be honest. We are very sore right now. So from a recovery perspective, that'd be fun actually to have the Q training. So Q training for me is acyclical because of the external torque issue that I'm doing. But it'd be interesting to put that internal torque as a way to ease the soreness. So we'll play with that tomorrow. I'll show you what I mean, but that's something I came up with in France. I was at a global gym, right? And I'm training and I'm doing everything in external torque. And I'm so sore the next day like we are, like so sore. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. So I wait another day, 2 days, so I'm not sore anymore. I go to the gym and I do external torque, same workout. But then I do all the same workout, same movements, everything, but in internal torque. Wake up the next day, not sore.
Really?
So I got so excited I did 4 times in a row. Same workout. No, not 4 times in a row, 4 days in a row. So the next day I went back, did same workout, external torque, still not sore. What? Still as strong. Go back the next day, same workout, external torque, internal torque, still not sore, still as strong. I did it 4 days in a row. Then I crashed for 2 days. But I was like, I'm not sore and I'm not tired. I don't understand. Yeah. And so of course I had to try out because that's what I do, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but now, I'm going to try to incorporate that into tomorrow's training, where we'll finish with. So we have 4 main exercises. We'll do 3 + 1 in internal torque, or 4 + 1, depending. 3 + 1. I'm going to start with that.
Well, that's the thing too. I have the rule with myself that I just follow whatever you do, which is kind of fun. So let's try it out.
And see if it diminishes the soreness, and we'll keep you posted next week on that one.
Cool.
Because like the soreness right now is ridiculous, and I've seen that a lot. Like if you train a lot in external torque, you get a really great soreness, much higher than if you do an internal torque, which I find interesting. Like
that's true, because this is the first time I got really sore since we started lifting. Before I was not that sore.
Yeah, and
I started yesterday or the day before I started to do the movement correctly.
So external torque out of the hole, that's what we're talking about on this. But even on the bench, it's the ET bubble, of the chest in external torque and then internal torque.
Do you want to tell what I said about what I did?
Oh yeah, right. So I'm making her do the movement, and she goes like, so I go toward like the internal torque on the wind, and then external torque, because if I go like external and internal, it's like a movement like that. It's like I'm in a rhythm. And I was like, oh, it's almost like it's a cyclical movement. Yeah, it's a circle. I was like, it's almost like it's a cyclical movement. Who knew? It's amazing.
That's why we make the stupid podcast, because I say shit like that all the time. But it's truly because I never did movement like that. So no
one does, honey. That's my stuff. The cyclical thing is mine. But so every time I make her do stuff, and she comes to me and says, do you know that this feels like a circle? And then I'm doing this and this. I'm like, oh, really? Who knew? That's amazing. And so this happens on a weekly basis where I'm like, yes, go figure.
Yeah.
I noticed the same thing.
Yeah.
Good shit.
I'm behind. I need to catch up so much stuff.
That's old school though. The cyclical stuff, like that's at least 3 years old. No, more than that, 4. I was in Amsterdam already? I think so. Cyclical was in Utrecht, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 4 years ago at least, or something like that. So I'm going to put that in to see if we can diminish the soreness, because the volume has been great. The recovery, like I'm feeling it today. We train 5 days a week, but it's rough. But we're mostly using compound movements, which is crazy, right? Even for bodybuilding purposes, and still recovering because of the silence of the Q training. So we're gonna focus on powerlifting and gym work, because I don't have my strongman equipment yet, and because that's what we have access to, like a big global gym. So and all the training that we do is the template that you'll see on the Q training template, and we also have the Q training group where I'm going to share the videos of my lifting of Janina, so I can explain how we are adapting the Q training to our training, so that you have a better idea, a better feel for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any comments, Nadia?
Well, I just think people, at least if you hear it, I don't think you realize how cool it is until you actually do it. Like even when you're on the airdyne, you don't really, you hear the voice, you hear the talk, and you know, you work it out with yourself, but you don't realize how much it affects your life until a few weeks in. So what I would like to comment is just keep it going and just give it a good shot, because once you start to feel it in your daily life, you really start to feel it. You know what I mean?
And you won't feel it on the airdyne.
No, but it's not like a precise thing where you go like, oh, it's exactly that. It's not a burn the question type of thing where one thought comes through your head and you attack it. Mm-hmm. It's more like a feeling approach to life, and you train it on the airdyne, and then it comes out in real life.
The airdyne doesn't feel better. Like that's not the point. Like you don't feel it on the airdyne.
Yeah, and for me at least, it took me a few weeks to really, to notice. I did feel the difference, but I mean to realize and notice it, like, oh, whoa, that I approached differently because of this. So to point really certain things out where I reacted better than usual. So that's what I would recommend, is just to give it a good shot, because at first you won't see it, and maybe that's still an ego thing, you know, where you don't really allow yourself to really see it. Yeah, or
maybe not ego, but just impatient, because, you know, people, and I understand on certain things, like, you know, that thing, like, why am I doing this?
Yeah, because that is also what you hear, what the voice is saying, like,
yes.
Why are you doing this?
That's exactly the point.
Yeah, and all I'm saying is, for me, at least, there's not one thought that goes through my head. It's more an approach to it, and it's a different feeling than from burn the questions.
And it's hard, because, like, she's been doing it for weeks because I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because I told her before to do it.
I did it a few times in Utrecht. In Amsterdam, sorry.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but this is a consistency of it that is interesting. Like, we do this at least 4 or 5 times a week. It's just, there's a consistency. It's a skill you're trying to acquire. And I think that's the most important skill, because I don't think the silence is something you gain. I think the silence is always there. There's supposed to be silence. And the problem is there's a voice that's really loud. That's the issue.
Yeah.
And what the skill gives you is the capacity to go back to yourself, to who you should be, which is within silence.
Yeah. Yeah. I just,
It's just not loud.
It's just not loud. That's
It's the best way to define it. That's what the silence of the Q training is. It's just not loud. But it's not supposed to be. That's the problem, I think. And so it's the skill of going back to yourself.
Yeah.
Or, you know, who you want to be, really. That's what I think when I'm on the airdyne. It's like, how do I want to feel for today? Who do I want to be? How am I going to handle the emails, the shit to do, the stuff like that?
It just makes everything outside of less loud, it makes it also more clear, because I feel like even, you know, judging things a certain way, it gives you a clearer view on it, because not the emotion gets out of it, but you can control the emotion so much better that you can just make it less overwhelming. And
that's a big deal.
Sometimes it's amazing to have emotion, but, you know, like, sometimes it also helps to, you know, being able to tone it back a little bit. At least for me, if I respond to something super emotional, it can be so overwhelming in the way you react or the way you decide on certain things. And I feel like with the Q training that you can give it a 6 and you can just see it a bit more
that
clearer.
obsessive behavior.
Yeah.
That normally takes control. Slightly.
I'm still proud of being an obsessive person, I gotta tell you. It brings me a lot, so.
Whatever.
No, I'm just saying, and it also has a lot of benefits.
There you go, exactly.
That's all I'm saying.
So, silence of the Q training. All we can say is do it. So we're going to keep documenting this. That way we're also documenting her rise within the powerlifting world, which should be fun.
Yeah, I'm very, very, very excited about getting strong.
Yeah, and then I'm very curious, because right now I weigh 98 kilos, which is 10 kilos lighter than what I was strong. I'm curious. I won't come back to the exact same number because I'm 10 kilos lighter, and it's 6 or 7 years later. But I'm very curious if I can go back within 90 to 95% of where I was. I'll be cool. So my goal is 456. It's to bench 400. So I benched 395 before, but never 4 plates. So that pissed me off. So I see if I want to go back to at least 160 kilos, so 165. squat over 500, over 230 kilos, so that I know that I can do that, that's not a problem. But go back deadlift to over 270 kilos. If I can do that at 98 kilos while doing jiu-jitsu and all the stuff and the Q training while being loud and looking good, I'll consider that a victory. So those are my goals.
Yeah, and also the looking the way you look, because you don't like to be too heavy either, right?
I don't like when I can't see my abs. Yeah. Maybe it's vanity of mine, I just don't like it. Yeah. Like I feel like if you put that much work, you should be able to see it.
Because that's also a thing that you get now, is that you get way more rounder without having to...
Right, it's very interesting because that goes into the protocol and everything, but I'm very round right now, and I see all my abs, which is the first time ever. I never could be lean and strong at the same time.
So that's also a new challenge.
Yeah, it is a challenge. I could never be lean and strong at the same time. Like I need a thick waist to be able to carry the weight, probably because of the hip. Yeah. And so now being lean, because I'm pretty lean right now, and round at the same time and strong, that I could never do. So that's my challenge.
Yeah. I'm just gonna get strong.
Okay.
Okay.
Exactly. Awesome.
Awesome.
Bye everybody.